Joe Hopkins here, and today I'm talking about laptops being used in live music. Now, the interesting thing is, I was watching a video from on YouTube here from Bradley Hall, right? I love his videos, really amusing guy. My microphone's loose, there we go. Really amusing guy, really great guitarist. The guy's really talented, and I like watching his videos. And he was talking about this thing where the band, Falling in Reverse, had to cancel a bunch of tour dates because their laptops got stolen. And apparently there was a lot of debate about this, a lot of hate thrown from the old guard of rock and roll, and you know, all these big name musicians saying how that's so lame and it's horrible, and oh god, how could you use laptops in live music, look at how terrible that is. And I thought, this can't be true. And I looked it up, and yeah, it is. Not that they had to cancel gigs or that they used laptops, but all the debate about it. And debate from like big name musicians. And the reason why I find that kind of nuts, I get where the initial thought is that they're cheaping out, they can't, you know, they should really be able to play their instruments and just plug in and play a show. But from professionals, they should know better. And just a little bit of explanation as to why you use laptops live in your live show. People instantly think backing tracks and samples and yeah, that kind of stuff. But I mean, that stuff's been used in music since way before people were bringing laptops to concerts. That's nothing really new. You just went about it differently, right? I've been a sound engineer. I know a lot of sound engineers. I know a lot of sound guys. And the thing is that laptop runs a lot of stuff. It's plugged into your soundboard. I remember back years and years ago, before that was the whole digital, computer thing was a big thing. You had a lot of bulky outboard gear that plugged into your board, or you had some onboard effects. I mean, keep in mind, all of these big bands have been using effects for decades, forever. Everybody uses reverb and EQ, right? Everybody uses different basic effects. And as technology's gotten better and more is available, we use more and more effects live. And that's nothing weird or shameful, or, I mean, anybody that thinks that, you know, major music acts just plug in and go, well, that's not how it works. You plug in, everything's mic'd, everything runs through a soundboard where you adjust levels and EQ and, you know, add reverb, and you might even tweak some things at different times during the show. Even back when everything was done manually, you'd have to remember at what part of a song or what part of the concert you had to turn a guitar up a little bit, or turn the vocals up a little bit, or, you know, add an effect. Sometimes it was just something that was cassette recorded, and it might just be the sound of timpanis at a certain part, or, you know, different sounds that would cue different things or accent something. And then later you have, you know, keyboards, like musical keyboards, where you could play certain things at certain times. You know, and a lot of times you have a guy in the sound booth doing that kind of stuff. And as technology progresses, things get better. And nowadays we have laptops and we have a lot of digital effects. So instead of running the old style EQ, reverb, all these different things, you can run it through your laptop and have access to a lot of effects. In fact, a couple shows I played, it was just me and my wife. So we don't have a band. So we want to do some of the songs that require a band backing track. Plus, I'm not using an amplifier. I'm running it into my computer and using the amp sims on my DAW, right? Live. Because why would I do that? Well, because it's a hell of a lot easier than hauling in my amp and the microphones and miking it and getting everything right, whereas I can just run it into the computer and run the computer through the PA, and it's all right there. And most modern sound equipment is digital, and a lot of it, the majority of it, you can plug your laptop into. A lot of it you can run with your iPhone, with your, smartphone. And I've seen that a lot, and it enables smaller acts to get a bigger, more polished sound too. And it's easier to work with everything. I mean, to be honest with you, in the old days, you mic'd everything and ran everything into the board and then out to the power amps and to the speakers, right? And nowadays, you can run everything direct into your laptop, work everything there, and then out to the power amps. It simplifies life. It enables small acts to run their sound better. And if you do want to do things as easy as possible, you can automate a lot of that stuff. And with the digital equipment, like let's say you're a small act and you can't afford a sound guy. And I know Falling in Reverse isn't a small act, they have a sound guy. But let's say you are a small act, you can't afford a sound guy, and you want certain things to move up, down, effects to come in at certain times. You can run everything to your in-ear monitors. In-ear monitors are great, right? They also kind of block out sounds so that you can hear what you're doing and not go deaf. Great stuff. But you have a backing track sometimes that you hear. The audience doesn't even need to hear it, just so you can follow along so that everything lines up, and then have all of those changes that a sound guy would do automated in your laptop. And even the sound guys, the pros, the big pros, have a lot of stuff automated now, because you can do a lot of complex changes and complex things where it's all set up ahead of time. And that's how big acts do this. And if your laptops get stolen, it would have been like, 30, 40 years ago, if somebody straight up stole your soundboard. You're not playing the next couple gigs. You got to replace this stuff. Also, on these laptops, there is a lot of stuff that's been automated and programmed, and a lot of, even with regular soundboards, you can have different presets where it moves all the sliders for you. So you have presets for different songs, and you have that programmed in your laptop too. And most of the big systems, big PA systems nowadays, the big sound systems that all the big acts use, run through laptops. They run through computers. It's the way it is now. It's the modern world. For Pete's sake, you can go on Musician's Friend or Sweetwater and look at the PA systems that are affordable for small acts. And most of them run on a phone or a laptop nowadays. A good bit of them, even the ones that are manual, right, have manual adjustments, all the sliders and all, they're still digital. And you can still automate them through your laptop. And if you're doing a big complicated gig, you're gonna use that option. And people do. Which is why I don't understand why a lot of the big artists, and yeah, they're older people, how do they not know this? How do they not know that their sound guy has 1 or 2 laptops running hooked into the board? It's mind-boggling why this is the debate that it is. All I can think is it's some people screaming for attention, saying, hey, look at me, I'm still alive. Hey, I can jump in this. It's not like the rock and roll when I was a kid. Give me a break, right? It's the industry standard now. And if those guys' laptops get stolen, it's not like you can just go down to Staples and buy a new laptop and plug it in. You need the software, and you need to set it up. And that's even negating all the presets and effects they have set up. It can take you a while. It could take a good week or two just to get everything back roughly the way it was, and you're still going to be working out the bugs when you go back on tour. I mean, that's a really, really big technical problem when that stuff has issues, right? And yes, I'm sure there are some bands that could make do. They could modify their set and just go old school. Except you're still going to have to replace the PA equipment that was running through your laptop, because you probably need stuff that hooks up differently. Right? You plan a whole tour based on this sound equipment, and it gets screwed up. What do you do? I mean, really, what do you do? even if, like I said, even if you could just plug in and play and go non-digital, your PA equipment is set up to work with this. And even switching it over, I mean, keep in mind, even in the old days, these guys would troubleshoot and, you know, work all the bugs out, all the kinks out of their sound design weeks before the tour. And if something gets that badly messed up in the middle of a tour, it'd be like even back in the 80s, if the tour bus with all the sound equipment wrecked, your tour is done, at least temporarily. And I don't get why the big name artists don't seem to know this. Why some of these people seem oblivious to that fact, even though they've been touring with the same digital setup for, you know, a decade or more now. I mean, dude, my wife and I played a New Year's Eve gig with this guy, and it was just him on stage. Just him, right? And you'd think that's a pretty simple setup. Even he had a Behringer Air, I think it was, that his wife was off to the side of the stage running on a laptop. That was his mixer. That was the console that he used. Now, my wife and I had a much simpler setup because we're poor, I guess. We bought basically the cheapest thing we could get, which is still pretty good. But I mean, dude, we're playing folk music. All we need is 4 mics, 2 vocal mics, 2 instrument mics. That's it. And even, like I said, even a couple times, I would plug a laptop into the PA and run stuff off of it, even as simple as we were going. So you can imagine how complex it gets when you're doing a multi-million-dollar tour. Like a lot of the artists who are complaining about this, I guess. Anyway, those are just my thoughts on it. I think modern technology is modern technology, and we all use it, and all the big people use it. And yeah, it is what it is, man. Nowadays, you go to see a major touring act, if you look in the sound booth, you're going to see a laptop or 2. That's the way of the world now. So anyway, my thoughts on it. That's all. Those are just my thoughts. So I'd recommend going over to Bradley Hall's channel and checking it out. His video is one of those rare rants. He doesn't rant much. He usually does amusing, funny stuff about beans and dances around. I like it. It's good stuff. I'll put a link to the video, to his video down there if you want to see it. He expounded upon it in a different direction than I did, talking about the generational differences in viewpoint. I'm talking about it as a sound guy who's worked with sound and knows people that work with sound. But either way, it's an interesting subject, and it's kind of, I think, just some people shouting for attention. So there. That's my thoughts on it. Don Henley, please quit bitching about shit, okay? It looks bad. It just looks bad. All right, but whatever. I still like the Eagles. Great band. Was a great band. I think, you know, how many of them are around now? Most of them, I think? I don't know. Anyway, that's terrible. It's terrible to say. Hey, enough of them die, and then maybe they'll get along well enough to go on tour again. So, oh, God help me. I'm a horrible person, and you should be horrible with me, so subscribe to my channel. There's my pitch. And there's an end screen coming up here where there's some playlists. You should check them out. I review instruments, and I do songs, and I don't always rant about stuff. I'm getting old. I guess the old man yells at clouds, except I agree with the youth. So, whatever. There you go. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, baby. Bye-bye.